Well, hi friends, are you ready for our weekly Lenormand reading? I'm so sorry, I have been MIA last week, and then yesterday was such a busy day for me that I wasn't able to upload. So I thought I would give you a reading while I had a little bit of time here. So the very first card out is what Spirit would like to speak with us about. Ready? Here we go. Oh, the snake. The snake, that has a lot of good qualities, even though it can seem a little dangerous, or you know, some people have fear of snakes. I personally have never been afraid of snakes. As a matter of fact, when I was a young girl, my father had handed me a snake, and he told me to go in and surprise my mom with it. And me walking in thinking she'd be excited to see it as much as I was, and boy, she freaked out. Yeah, she was on the phone with her girlfriend, and she screamed and hung up the phone. And her friend called back, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And yeah, I got in a little bit of trouble, but my dad got in worse trouble. So, but that snake is transformational. Snakes shed their skin. Um, they protect their nests. So it can be diplomatic, and it's highly intelligent in the Lenormand teachings. Very smart with finances, very wise. Depending on what it's coupled next to, it has lots of different meanings. But in this case, the very first card was the snake, and the center card is the mountain, which means that you may have to take an alternative route, or, do things in a roundabout way. I feel like it has an ability to overcome challenges. Okay, because we have the bear there, but the bear has courage that's attached to it. So it just might take a little bit more calculated, intelligent. Just more determination is what I would say, is what it feels like. But that mountain might feel very challenging to you. Well, how do we eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? Now we've got the letter there. That's informational. And then we've got the coffin, which is another transformational card, right? And the coffin has an ending feel to it. But when there's an ending, it also signifies a new beginning. So sometimes, like, I don't know about you, but if I've ever gone to clean out something, it looks worse than it did, before I started. But in order to make way and clear the obstacle, if you want to call it that, it has to look messy before it's going to get better, right? Now we've got the house there. That's what I was just saying. So, this can be your close knit types of, you know, uh, involvements, right? Your family, your work, possibly even your local church. Just a smaller knit group of uh, people, right? So it signifies people. Well, the bear is something of importance, right? Well, the bear signifies the mother, sister, daughter energy. So I feel like it is a mother's home, or in my case, and I feel like it's looking at all of this, because the upper left hand is the child. I feel like it's trying to tell us that it is a mother's job to keep the family together, right? Um, it can be more challenging than me talking about it, but anything worth having is worth fighting for. It's worth going through the hard stuff to get to what needs to be done. Raising children is a very challenging job. Any mother will tell you it's not easy, and no mother is perfect. I'd seen a meme that said, if you know a perfect mom, I can show you a picture of a unicorn riding a fairy, or something riding a unicorn, because there is no such thing as a perfect mother. But what we can do is take heart in knowing that if you are making a decision based on the best interest of your children, you are making the right choice. even if it doesn't seem like it when you go back and look at the time, you were doing the very best you could based on the best interest of your children. So, sometimes we look back and we have hindsight, right? And that's another message here in this first portrait. The moon is a very shedding spotlight, in hindsight, which is, the snake gives that feeling of hindsight, the way that it, can coil and go back. But, the snake has that energy in Lenormand that it means kind of sticking around, right? So you can't just walk away, you can't abandon the situation, you have to handle it, and you have to handle it head on. So, we have some stubborn energy here. We've got the child and the anchor, that's about as stubborn as they come. And then we have stability in the home, though. So, I feel like sometimes we have power struggles, right? Where one child might be throwing a temper tantrum, wanting to get its own way. And then you've got the mom trying to direct the child in to do the right thing, right? So it's kind of a battle of the wills, for lack of a better you know way to describe it. And sometimes it's good to give children more than one choice so that you are still in control, and then yet they still feel like they've got to make a choice on their own based on their own independence and free will, right? So it's just a compromising feel to it. I would say, try to be a little more flexible, not so harsh, and maybe use each challenge as an opportunity to learn something. Okay. That's that first portrait. And, there isn't a broad feel to it. So looking things from a broader perspective. And there is, you know, our children aren't with us for, it feels like, anyways, for me, like a blink of an eye. 18 years, it flies by. You blink and it's over. So it's almost like, this isn't a trial run. You have to handle, um, the things that are important, though. So prioritize, maybe pick your battles, but don't be too stern and too rigid, or children tend to rebel. Okay. So that would be, my first portrait here. And rather than going through the entire deck, which I like to do, but it's very, um, it's kind of all over the place, right? So if we can focus on one portrait at a time, I feel like we can spend a little bit more time with that. I do see some online communication here, and there is some distance. So, you know, we don't want to feel overwhelmed with too much knowledge. I feel like if we do these little short mini portrait types of readings, I feel like we'll get a little bit more out of them. And maybe you could participate, let me know what you think after you've been, going through your week, and how you resonated with each energy. That mountain, it can be a challenge, but I feel like once you get over that challenge, the feeling of success is even more rewarding because you went through all of that um challenge, to get to the end result. I do see a little bit of shadow energy here. That's part of healing, is you need to bring the things to light so that you don't fear those things anymore. So let's use the snake as an example. Maybe read up on a snake and understand it a little bit better. And once you understand it a little bit more, you won't be as fearful about it. I know snakes come in all different sizes. I'm the same way about snakes as, or the same way about spiders as most people are about snakes. And yeah, the size matters, right? A little gardener snake isn't going to bother you, but a boa constrictor, will choke you out. So, take things into perspective there. But I do feel like there is a windier path, or a more diplomatic path, or there's more than one way to solve a problem. So just use your creative energy, and maybe you know tackle things from more of a childlike view rather than so rigid and firm. um that mother, she can be nurturing. She's not as mean as she looks. She's the bear has that you know that cuddle warmth. With it having the bear has like bear cubs, and she lets her bear cubs kind of do their own thing, but if someone comes around that is dangerous, she will bare her teeth, and mama bear will kick in. So that's where we get that from, the mama bear. um I like also to think of things as not too hard and not too soft, just right, which is the baby bear, which is the child in the bear. And you know some of the things, were like, oh my gosh, I sound just like my mother. I can hear myself sometimes. So, it has that little bit of mirror on the wall. I'm like my mother after all, energy too. I say take the good and leave the rest though. Well, folks, there it is for the week. I hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to reach out to me if you would like a personal reading. I would love to sit down with you. Have a blessed week, and you take very good care of yourself.